Welcome to Not to Talk About, a brand new Notts County podcast. I just want to say quickly before we start, thank you so much for all the support so far. 400 followers already before our first episode. It's just absolutely insane. I want to bring in the man beside me. Casey, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm always happy to be in your company. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm really good. I'm excited for this first episode. Do you want to introduce the pod? It was your sort of brainchild, so I'll let you tell the story of how this all came about.
Yeah, so look, the podcast, all I want to say is to everybody watching right now, please, please, please don't think this was mine and Tom's idea. Producer Charlie Harvey, he sat me down. In fact, he came to me first. He was like, I want to start a podcast. Do you want to do it? At first, I was a bit like, I'm not sure just yet. And then when he sat me down and he showed me the Word document, I was like, I'm in, because this guy's serious. At first, we was there like, are we going to do it within a booth or are we going to do it virtually? As soon as he said virtually, I was like, okay, cool. I can work with Tom. And we got Tom involved. We had a few meetings. And then from there, we launched the account, and the support for the account, by the way, guys, has been absolutely amazing. To have 500 followers before we even hit the record button is serious, so we appreciate that a lot. And yeah, here we are right now.
I think the time of the pod is kind of bittersweet in a way. We planned it for now. We were always going to be coming in the new year, but obviously the timing with Luke Williams departing, it's kind of perfect timing to start new beginnings, I suppose. What was your initial reaction, Casey, when you heard the news? I guess we'll start there. You know, that's the big news at the minute. What was your initial reaction when you? I guess we'll start. Was it Tuesday, Wednesday? So last week it was sort of rumoured. What was your thoughts when it first? It looked like this time the rumours were kind of pretty serious.
Yeah, look, I think everyone kind of expected it, especially when we had the Oxford rumours as well, and then that didn't come to anything, and then everything kind of went quiet. But then obviously you start hearing a bit of noise about Swansea being interested. And at that point, you start to worry because he had already been there before. So he's obviously going back to, he's gone back now, but at the time, you got to speak about it as if it hasn't happened yet. So he's gone back to familiar surroundings. And then, yeah, you kind of just wait, really, when you first hear the rumours, because I think it all started again from betting odds. And listen, if you read them and take any interest in them, Stuart Maynard would be our manager tomorrow if that was the case. So, and then I can't remember the journalist's name off the top of my head, but he obviously came out and said, yeah, he's expecting it to be done. And then it was Thursday afternoon that I found out that the deal was done. Friday it was announced, and yeah, I can't lie, mate. It was heartbreaking. What about you, mate? How did you find it?
Yeah, pretty similar thoughts. It was kind of similar timeline. It was yeah, I was obviously being told by people it's close, but that was kind of from a Swansea side really, and it's like how reliable is it? When I think as the Athletic reporter, again I can't remember his name, but you know when it's a kind of someone of that sort of that ilk and that credence, you think, wow, this is bad news. But look, I wish him nothing but the best. Obviously, I'm absolutely gutted about it. I don't want to dwell on it for too long. I think we'll have a little chat about his best moments because there's been a lot of them, and I think he deserves that. You know, he delivered such an unbelievable season and a half for us. But yeah, of course, I'm absolutely gutted and still quite raw. It still doesn't feel quite real, I don't think. I think, obviously, we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, the Grimsby game. I think after that, it's going to be probably sinking in a little bit more, even though we've seen him manage on the touchline for Swansea. It doesn't quite feel real yet. I think when we hear that presser, he's not going to be in the presser. It's going to be weird. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of emotions. But if you could pick some of your best moments, let's come up with a top three between us under Luke Williams. What would you say the top three moments are? There's been a lot of them.
Wow. Okay. Third. We'll start third because that makes the most. Oh, see, you think you know you three, don't you? And then you think of more. As a joint third, we'll go with joint third beating Wrexham at home in the league, and along with that, signing Macaulay Langstaff because of obviously what he's done for us. The second for me, the semi-final against Bournemouth. I mean, I would pay anything to relive that day. And then number one, of course, obviously the day at Wembley, which I feel like is where it's kind of where he made his name for himself in terms of everyone knew that he had potential, but the way that we came back into the games in the playoffs, so obviously have your Bournemouth game, it was 2-0 down, win it 3-2, 96th minute equaliser, 117th minute winner. And then obviously at Wembley as well, we had 88th minute equaliser, went 1-0 down in the 3rd minute of extra time, and then equalised, won it on penalties, how we did. I think that was the game for me where he showed that no matter what the situation is, I'm going to play my way of football, and I'm going to show the world that it's going to work. And then that's why I feel like now a team like Swansea have took the chance on him, because he ain't gonna, even no matter if he was managing the conference still or if he was going now. However much money the footballer's on a week, he is not going to be a pushover to any footballer. If you're not going to play his system, he's not going to play you. But anyway, what about you, brother?
Yeah, I think when I was like typing out a list, I remember when it was kind of rumoured, I was typing out things to happen, and I typed Bostock free kick, and I was actually thinking of the Wrexham free kick first. Like that individual moment was like a crazy moment, but obviously the Bostock free kick in the final like is even bigger moment. But I don't know, in terms of individual moment, I think the semi final and the final can't be topped. But I just think the way he's held himself, the way he interacted whenever anyone's met him. You know, I know we've both like met him, and he's been brilliant when he's spoken to us. So I just think he's such a humble guy, and like just the interactions with him have been fantastic, as well as on the pitch. Obviously, this season as well has been obviously he's mentioned, we're in the playoffs after getting promoted. Like it's crazy to think that that's the direction and trajectory we're on because of him. Obviously, it's not all down to Luke Williams. You know, I want to come out and say that there's a lot behind the scenes and structure and things like that. But he is definitely a massive part of it. If there's any Swansea fans listening, we'll move on to more not stuff rather than talking about Luke Williams and Swansea forever. But what would you say to Swansea fans that they can expect from Luke Williams? Because what was the one thing you would say that they can expect out of the gaffer?
Oh, that's a good question. The one way I'd describe him and what you can expect from him is a gentle winner. He's very soft spoken to the press, and if you meet him as well, he's very approachable, very caring. But behind that sort of personality is a man that's driven to succeed. And we've seen it all last season, me and you, in the last 18 months, in fact. As soon as he came in, you sort of knew straight away that there was someone, this guy was serious. And again, he never really, he always takes the pressure off his players. If he gets it wrong, he'll come out and say. But if it is the players that have done wrong, he won't sit there and hide it and defend them. And I think that's another good trait of his as well, because I feel like there's times when we've been beaten when he's came out and said it just weren't good enough. And then what did we do the week after? We went and turned someone over 3 or 4-0. So I think Swansea fans, if this is a success for them, I genuinely think that maybe not this season because of how it's mid-season now, but I think next season with the right recruitment, I don't know what it's going to be like for him next season in terms of how much of a say he's going to have. Because he didn't have much of it here, but if he gets his own players in, then I think he's going to be a massive success.
Yeah, I really like how you've described him there. I think it's the perfect way. And would you say those characteristics then are what we need for a new gaffer? Because for me, obviously, you've got to look at style. We're going to want probably a similar appointment, like a young head coach, probably one that plays possession football or has got that sort of. It doesn't even necessarily have to be someone that's had a head coach's role before. I know Luke Williams had one at Swindon, but he hadn't had one for quite a while before he came to us. So would you say that that's equally as important for our next manager, like the characteristics of them as a person? I know it's hard for us to. We aren't going to know them, but obviously in the interview process and things like that, do you think that's something they're going to look for? Someone that is driven, ambitious to succeed?
I think the next appointment will be pretty similar to what we've already had. Obviously, without Birchnell, whatever your opinion is of him, the Williams era wouldn't have been as successful because he planted the seeds, Williams watered it, and now the growth, the end product is what we have right now. And whoever's going to come in next he's going to be expected to take it to the next level. That's the whole. That's the whole for me. That is the way it's going to be for our football club. And when you have these kind of managers that come in and they play the same, the style of football that we play, by the way, is one that the game's going to, and this is why Swansea have took Williams, because they want that football at a high level. Our system is, as much as it hurts me to say, it is find a good young manager who you can tie down to long-term contracts and make him a success and get good compensation out of it, because that is how you're going to fund the growth of this football club. So to answer your question, Tom, yeah, I think it will be more of the same. I think we're not going to play 2 or 3 years of this tiki-taka football and get promoted and be successful in League Two and then revert back to the old days where we used to just lump it up to Stead and Amiobi and whoever else we could shove up front. It's going to be somewhat of the same magnitude, mate, for sure.
Yeah, and just looking at the bookmakers' odds, and I just want to caveat as I was saying, be gamble aware. We're not promoting gambling in any way. You know, bet responsibly if you are going to. But just looking at some of the names, like you mentioned before, Stuart Maynard is currently Bookie's favourite. There's Higgins, who's a manager in Ireland. I think he's Derry City manager, I believe. I might be wrong on that. Andrew Crofts at Brighton. Brian Barry Murphy at Man City and Scott Lindsay at Crawley Town are sort of the top 5 at the minute. Have you got any names you would be interested in, or is it a case of that you just trust the brothers to get it right?
To be fair, like, I think we both know you can have a preference and I can have a preference, but that preference probably ain't even being considered because the past 2 appointments have been 2 people we never knew before they were announced. And this is why, like the list you just named, there's obviously some good strong names on there, but if we're going to be realistic, the chances are that none of them are even being considered. They're just, what the bookies have done there is that they've looked at managers that play similar style of football to what we've had, and they've threw them all in the same mix. So, and I don't know, like when you say, is there a name? I'm a big fan of Luke Garrard. I've said that. I said that on the space the other day. I think he fits the criteria of a young manager who, if you give him the right resources, he will succeed in the Football League, and he's someone again who will have a bigger stock if he has success. So it kind of just fits the billing. But again, like it'd be easy for me to throw a name out there, but realistically, the chances are it's just going to be somebody who is a really good coach that no one's really heard of, because that's the low profile. It kind of, the Football Radar company that they own, it kind of, it should be rebranded to Football Under the Radar, because that's how low. But it's true though, isn't it? That's how low profile our owners are. You don't hear from them, and then bang, we've signed someone, and bang, there's their statement. It's brilliant. But what about you, anyway? Any names?
I just want to build on what you said there about Luke Garrard. I think some people might hear that straight away and think, the style of football that Bournemouth played against us isn't the style that we want to play. But I actually know Luke only through this and how we met, I suppose. And I've been into Bournemouth's training, and something that really impressed me when I was there was his tactical understanding. I don't want to give away all his secrets, but he had the players sat round, and in the morning before they even trained, and it was analysis ahead of their next game. And his tactical understanding and awareness and the little details, and that's what we hear about Luke Williams, is the details. And he had every little detail just finely combed, and he mentioned everything that you could want to know, and things that you would never even think of, like as a fan. Like he just thought of like things like positioning of where you stand at a fullback when you're out of possession, which side of the fullback do you stand to pin them in, and little things like that. It was mind blowing to see. And I know he knows Luke as well. They get on, I think, pretty well. So no, I think that it's a good name, and obviously another manager who I've been into the training with is Stuart Maynard, who's Bookie's favourite. Again, I don't know anything. I just want to put that out there so people don't go and take this as anything. But again, from when I've seen him train, again, their details are incredible, and they play a very similar style. So, like I said, I think, but like you said, there's not going to be someone we know. We've mentioned those 2 names, but more than likely, the manager's going to be someone that we've never heard of. And talking of that, I think it's our understanding that, or our, I guess, prediction, just pure guesswork again, that we're probably looking at an appointment it's not too rushed. I think Jim O'Brien will be in the dugout for Grimsby. It's pretty much confirmed. I can't see the club rushing for an appointment. I think they'll put the process underway. But what do you think to Jim as the interim sort of manager? He's been at the club 5 years now. I know he's a player that means a lot to all of us. Is he the first manager ever to have a tattoo of the club on him? I don't know.
Look, I think with the crop of players you've got at the club, I think the only one that made realistic sense to have as your interim player coach, although player coach, it sounds cliche, but that's what he is essentially. He's still a player and he's going to be a coach. Yeah, he's the best guy for it, for sure. I mean, 5 years of service. And I tweeted it the other day, to get loyalty like that at any level of football these days, with the money that's involved and people tying themselves down to long-term contracts and not fulfilling it, I just think that is just a testament to him. And for someone who has already started his coaching career and he's already had one eye on the coaching future, I think this is also perfect. Not even if it don't result in him getting it on a permanent basis, which I won't be against if he has a good spell. Yeah, it would be almost a way of putting him himself in a shop window. Because one thing I will say about Jim is I love him. 5 years, brilliant. He's not through and through. He's basically one of our own, even though he isn't one of our own. But after this year extension expires, we're probably not going to see him again on the pitch for us. Whether it's a coaching capacity, who knows? But I certainly think Jim has all the characteristics available and the personality to be a good coach, and I think one day he will. So, yeah. What about you, brother? What's your take?
Yeah, I guess that's one. I haven't thought about it until just now. Till you literally mentioned it. But I think that's probably one silver lining. Not that you have to grasp at from Luke Williams going, is that there might not have been a place for Jim on the coaching. Not because they wouldn't want him, but the coaching staff was already quite big. You know, obviously George Lawty went with Luke and obviously Ryan Harley as well. So I guess what we could hope is that whoever comes in could put Jim on his coaching staff, and that would keep him at the club beyond this season. You know, if Jim stays as assistant manager or as the George Lawty kind of coach, the coach behind the assistant manager, basically. If he stays as that, there's a chance that he stays at the club beyond this season. I think that's what we all want to see. He's been a brilliant, as people say all the time, he's a brilliant servant for the club. He's been fantastic, and I think the key will be for him will be keeping things the same. You know, Gateshead had a similar situation in the National League. You know, they lost their manager, they promoted from within, kept things the same, and I know they've started to lose a lot of players now, but they have actually gone up one place in the table. So I think if we, at the end of the month, have gone up one position in the table, we'd probably all take that at the minute without a manager in charge. Obviously, in the media today, they spoke about Scott Robertson's involvement this weekend. Are you excited to see him in a Notts shirt? Do you think he'll get the nod this weekend? I think with midfielders. And do you think Jim will play himself? That's another question. Do you think Jim will play himself alongside Scott Robertson?
To answer that question immediately, I don't think Jim will play. I don't think Jim will even name himself in the squad. I generally don't. I think when you put someone in this sort of situation, they can't. Although Jim is talented and he's intelligent, he's not going to focus on two things at once. I think this week is the sole purpose of his week. This week has been to coach. So I don't think he'll be in the squad. It depends what you want to do against Grimsby, because you know kind of what they're going to play. But I think for me, it would be Robertson and Bostock. Can't say I'm massively clued up on Robertson. I don't think many people have been, because it was another thing again from our end that you hear about it the next day, it's done. The day after, it's been announced. But what I will say is, he said it himself. He's a Celtic boy. He came through an academy that's possession-based football. There's one structure at this football club. It ain't going to change for anybody. That's pass. But it's not just pass for possession's sake. It's pass. We're going to win games and get promoted. That's the difference. So, yeah, I think it'd be a good success, mate. And I think he will be started on Saturday, hopefully.
I think it's interesting. I don't know. I haven't seen the interview. I need to watch it still, but I don't know if he mentions it. But I'm pretty sure David Artell, who's the Grimsby manager, was his manager at Crewe when he was on loan there in League One. So that'd be interesting if he comes up against his old gaffer. And I think that's an interesting point you make about that. I did see that clip about him mentioning the possession. and the structure of being, coming through Celtic. And that's something that he didn't come with great reviews from Fleetwood fans, but the caveat you have to put on that is that Fleetwood play a completely different way to us, and that's not really his game. He kind of said that himself. Whereas when he was at Crewe, they play they've got similar structure in terms of they want to play possession-based football, and he looked a lot better there. It suited his game more. So I think there's certain clubs that suit certain players, and I think we could be a club, hopefully, that suit his game. Obviously, Grimsby have got a different gaffer to when we last played them. I think the last time we played them, it was a much needed result against them. It was probably a bit of a rocky start to the season, and I guess we're in a similar period now. I know we've had a couple of good wins recently. We've also had a couple of losses of 4-2 losses and things like that. So, what are your hopes going into Grimsby? Obviously, it's kind of a clean slate. What are your hopes for that game?
Before I answer this, there's something I want to say on your point when you said they didn't come with glowing reviews from Fleetwood fans. Let's look at the players we've signed. Macaulay Langstaff, people told us he wouldn't be able to make the National League step up. Bang, 42 goals. Wouldn't do the League 2 step up, top goal scorer in League 2. McGoldrick, he's came to Notts to slow down. He's came to Notts to retire and quit playing football. What is it now? 7 goals, as many assists nearly. Jody Jones, injury prone. You've took a risk on him. All this and that. Top assister in the EFL. So I guess my point is I'm trying to make, when people come to Notts County, footballers come to Notts County, it's a clean slate. This fan base don't judge you off your past. They judge you what you produce in a black and white shirt. And I think that's why these players like Maka, we didn't put any pressure on him. And now I look at him glowing. Ditsy, we knew what we was getting. Jones, we never put much pressure on him to begin with. We knew the player was there, but we knew he had to get fit again. So that's what I wanted to say on that. And as for Grimsby, on the weekend, what I will say about that game is that you know what to expect. It's going to be cagey. The fans are close to the pitch. I remember last time they cheer every tackle because ultimately this is a big game for both teams because there's history behind it now with the playoffs. That we don't need to speak too much about that because it's obviously heartbreaking and all that stuff. And although they're not in the best of form, they're 20th in the league, 18th in the form table for home, 20th in the away form table, the -9 goal difference. They've got good players still. They've got Danny Rose, 9 goals, their top goal scorer. Holohan, who we know well from the equaliser in the playoffs, but he's the top assister for them as well. So never underestimate the quality of a team that's struggling when a big team comes to town. No pun intended, and their fans will be up for it. It'll be cagey. It'll feel like a bit of a derby, and they've got quality in the team. And these players, they will show up. They live for moments in games like this. This is a footballer's dream at this level. So I think it'll be a difficult game. But when you've got someone like Jim with a fiery personality in your dugout, and he's got home crowd to mash off that energy, I think he'll want to go there and put on a show. Again, no pun intended. So we'll see what happens, mate. But I'm confident. Maybe this time next week, I'll either say I was wrong to be confident, or no wonder I was confident. So we'll just see what happens. But again, I'll throw the same question back to you. What are you hoping for this weekend?
Yeah, I don't want to use the word free hit about it, but at the same time, I do want to use it because, we're going in with expectations. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how Jim is going to fare as coach. I think they'll try and keep everything the same. I think what it's done is actually alleviate a lot of pressure on this game because if you look at our fixtures after this, it's a horrible, horrible run. We've got Stockport and Barrow at home, then we've got Mansfield away, and then we've got Gillingham, Newport, then Wrexham and Crewe. So we're playing pretty much all the teams in the playoffs within the next month and a bit. So this game was, if Luke Williams was still in charge, I think we'd all be looking at this game like we've got to get 3 points here. 20th in the league. Don't matter if we're away. It's in the game we've got to win, considering our run of games. But now that we've got Jim in charge, the pressure's off. I think the lads can go out and play the stuff. They'll have a point to prove. They're going to want to show everyone that as much as Luke Williams is brilliant, like Lou Williams always said, he blames the players for him getting the interest, and they're going to want to prove that it was them all along. And I think there's not a lot of pressure on us. I think Grimsby will be up for it, like you say. They're always up for it, and I think they'll be up for it even more knowing the situation that we're in. But yeah, like you, I feel confident, and it's one of them where you wouldn't walk away disappointed. I think no matter the result, as long as the performance is there, and as long as the fight and desire is there, as long as those players put in 100% for us. Obviously, that's the same every week, and it sounds a bit of a cop out for me. But I think at the minute, considering everything that's happened, that's what we want to see is the effort level. And I think we will. I think they'll come out raring to go. It'd be nice to get a look at Scott Robertson, see if what he's all about. And I'm really positive, like you say. But I guess we'll be back next week to look back on it. Hopefully, we don't look foolish. Talking of next week, we want to hear from you guys what you guys want to hear as well. If you guys have got ideas for segments, obviously we've got little ideas for plans of different games we can play and different segments to the podcast we can have, and we've obviously got potential guests in. Have you got any thoughts on that, on what you want to touch on?
Well, I was kind of hoping we'd move on to this because I feel like we're at a point now where we've got it's not it is a good working relationship, but I don't feel like people fully understand like how we met and became good friends. So I'll let you describe yourself first and how you came into the situation, and then I'll kind of speak about myself and then how we came together.
Yeah, so for me, obviously, I've seen your stuff online for ages, to be fair, way before I've been doing it. And obviously I started doing it properly last summer, just pretty much just before Lou Williams came in, really. That was kind of like the first, and it was actually the first piece I ever did was on Toby. For Toby Alabeo, it was the first thing I ever did was when he signed. So that's kind of how I got into it, just from doing that, something to do while I was at uni. So I've obviously had a passion for knots and for football, and I just thought I'd give it a go. But yeah, that's kind of how that started for me. And then obviously you and yourself and a few others that online, other great knots content that's online. I've been seeing you guys for a number of years, and obviously it's been brilliant to get to know each and every one of you. So yeah, I want to throw that back to you. How have you got in your journey, and how we, I guess, first met online?
Well, first of all, brother, I just want to say I don't think you've given yourself enough credit there. So to be just shy of 14,000 on Twitter, you deserve a big pat on the back. So give yourself all your flowers. But for myself, so I guess so what people don't really know is when I was a college student, I wanted to go to university to be a sports coach. So my heart was always set on doing coaching. When I was at college, we used to do like almost like training sessions where you just dummy run it, and I was doing that, and then bang, COVID, but the pandemic hit, and it was kind of just that in that situation. Or then obviously doing part-time work, which became full-time. There was nothing to do in free time, so I guess I owe a big thank you to two football clubs in particular, Guiseley and Squiresgate, because they were the two non-league clubs that gave me a purpose in terms of writing. So I did a little bit for them. And then when that I saw that and I enjoyed that, and then it kind of it didn't do, obviously in them times it did okay because everyone was reading, but then it kind of I looked at it and thought I enjoyed that and I want to go and do more of it. So then when we could go back into college, I sat down with the lecturer and he was there like, if you've had a change of heart and that's your passion, then follow it. And then went to UCAS, went to Derby uni, and I started. And then whilst I've been at uni, the first year I was all about, I just want to grow as I move through the course. So the first year I had a little bit of growth. I think at the end of the first year I was on about 600 followers, but I never expected it to go big. Like that's the thing with me. I never expected to be in this position now, and like, and then I think it was that summer Lee Curtis left, and then Knox had no coverage. So now I saw it as an opportunity where, okay, I can really put myself out there. And then obviously that was when Williams came in, and then we played Leicester, and Leicester had like £50 million in their back line that they played against us, and I just tweeted something saying all that money in your defence, and not one of them got near Mane all game, and then that tweet blew up, and then had an influx of followers, and then by like July time, there was just people saying that I should be considered for the Not Slide job. But then Ollie came in, and by the way, Ollie King, I know you're going to be watching this. You are saying we will get you on as a guest once. We've already told you that. But yeah, and then last season, that's why I love Williams so much, because without him and the success he gave on pitch, I would never have the following that I do, and I owe him everything for that. But obviously, I've had times online where people have said, "Oh, you use Knots, you've used Knots to have an easy pathway into this sports media stuff." If I wanted an easy pathway into this media stuff, I wouldn't have chosen a non-league side. I chose this side because I'm there every single week, home and away. Thousands of pounds I pay to do that, by the way, and I love it. And I've had success about it now, and I'm very grateful. And anyone watching, I know that you would have been supportive of us, so I appreciate that a lot. And how we met each other, I think you touched on it here. It was kind of just when you started, you kind of saw my stuff, and then we just kind of like bounced off each other. And then we, like, ever since, it's just been one of them where we've spoke pretty much not every day, but I think people don't understand how much we speak. Obviously, a group chat with Ollie as well. So we just became very good friends. And then obviously now working together on a podcast, which again, by the way, he isn't on the screen now. He's actually behind the scenes. I just want to emphasise the point that whatever you can see around me and Tom now on your screen, that was none of our work. It was all Char. Producer Charlie Harvey, by the way. Please, 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 please understand that without him, you wouldn't even be watching this podcast right now. And the stuff that he's put in out of his own pocket to buy software, to buy all the, like, we're using an app now I didn't even know existed earlier, and Charles just put in our chat that, oh, he's paid for it and he's going to invite us. So all I'm saying is, please don't think this is all me and Tom. In fact, if anything, me and Tom are just recording, and all this will go straight to Char. He's a legend, and he deserves everything. That's all I can say about him. He's brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, when I said any ideas for any segments or anything you want us to touch on or talk about, it's going to go to us, but really it's going to go to Charlie, and he's going to be the one that's going to make sure it all runs smoothly. So yeah, I can only echo that. You know, he's done brilliant stuff already, getting this podcast off the ground. And I also want to throw in the fact that I want to thank you guys again as well. The 500 followers, I know we keep saying that, but that is just mind-blowing to us. I think if it had got to 100, we would have been happy. So to get to 500, like, we're just absolutely blown away. We'll be back next week for Grimsby. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's just echoing what you just said right there. To have 500 at this point, when we found out yesterday evening that the account had been made, we literally said, "Oh, like, okay, we'd be happy to get over 100." It's been a day now, and we've had over 500, and I think that just shows like how investors you guys are in what me and Tom are doing, but also how much it kind of is a way of showing us your expectations, and we want you to have high expectations, because high expectations for two men on screen and another fantastic producer is exactly what we wanted, because the pressure is everything, and to make good content you need pressure. So again, from the bottom of all our hearts, really, like, it's just greatly appreciated across all three of us that 500 of you have already followed, and it's something that no matter how big this podcast grows, we'll never forget the support we've had from the beginning. So pass off to everyone and keep supporting us, because it's only going to keep getting better. We want to get a range of guests on. It doesn't matter if it don't matter if you're a former player, if you're a member of staff now, or if you're a current player. We want it all. Obviously, we'll have to go and get the correct permissions to do so, but if we can do that and get the green light. But obviously, as well, with that, we don't want to do it every week because at the end of the day, we want you guys just to enjoy me and Tom on the screen. But obviously, having a guest makes a better episode. But for me and Tom, and our point of view, it's more the case of like we want to be interested enough to make sure that we don't have to rely on a guest, and we know that you lot will support it, and that's why we're in the best position. But yeah, we'll be back again next week. This was just the first episode. We spoke about the gaffer leaving, we spoke about Notts and Grimsby, and we wanted to help you lot understand how me and Tom know each other, and we also wanted you to understand that Charlie Harvey has put a lot of work into this, time and effort, and even money, and he deserves all his flowers for that too. So we're just very appreciative. What can we say? And yeah, that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah, we want to say thank you for watching if you're watching on YouTube, and thank you for listening if you're listening on Spotify. We also want to hear from you where you guys want the podcast, where you are most likely to watch or listen. So we're really interested in hearing your views on that, as well as what you want us to talk about. For all the social media updates, we're currently on Twitter, as we've mentioned, at Nots to Talk About. That's Nots and then a number 2, Talk About. But you better find us on there if you search Nots to Talk About. And we're looking at setting up other social media platforms for the podcast as well. So stay tuned for them, and as I say, follow us on Twitter to keep posted for that. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to this first episode of Lots to Talk About. Been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I'll let you sign off.
Again, guys, if you've made it this far, which I'm sure the majority of you have, and I say majority, probably all of you have, because that's how much you've invested in me and Tom and our careers so far. Nothing but love. Please keep supporting us. We're going to deliver for you every single week, and that is a promise. So just keep showing the love, man, and please keep sharing us around, because the more this grows, it's better for the club. Because as you guys know, we haven't been blessed with much media outlet, and even now with Ollie, obviously he departed, so it's even thinner, and me and Tom are trying to do our best. So keep showing us love, keep supporting us, and we're going to drive forward. Thank you very much for watching.